The moment I saw her step out of the elevator, heels clicking like a countdown to disaster, I realized my life was about to get exposed in the most humiliating way possible. My hands were shaking so badly that the coffee in my cup rippled like a warning sign. I wasn't nervous because she was my CEO. I wasn't nervous because she was stunning, sharp-eyed, and powerful enough to make an entire boardroom go silent with one glance. I was nervous because my ex-wife was standing in the lobby too, dressed like she was walking into a wedding, not a corporate building. And the way she looked at me, like I was a mistake she wanted to rewrite, told me she didn't come here for closure. She came here to win. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the kind of love that heals what life breaks, then please take a moment to like this video, comment, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel, because stories like this remind us that sometimes the most unexpected people become our miracle. My name is Nathan Caldwell, and I worked in downtown Chicago, Illinois, for one of the fastest-growing tech firms in the Midwest. I wasn't famous, I wasn't rich, and I definitely wasn't important enough to have a personal storm follow me into the office. I was just a senior analyst with a worn-out suit, a mortgage I could barely keep up with, and a heart still bruised from a divorce that had happened a year ago, but felt like it was still happening every morning. My ex-wife, Vanessa, didn't leave me because I cheated or because I was cruel. She left me because I wasn't enough. Not enough money, not enough ambition, not enough sparkle for the life she wanted. She said she wanted stability, but what she really wanted was a man whose name opened doors. After she left, I worked like a man trying to outrun grief. I took extra projects, stayed late, and volunteered for every presentation. I thought if I became successful, the pain would stop. But pain doesn't work like that. It just changes outfits. Some days it looked like loneliness in my apartment. Some days it looked like my phone lighting up with old photos I forgot to delete. And some days, it looked like Vanessa showing up out of nowhere, smiling like she never broke me. That morning, I was heading to a quarterly meeting when the lobby doors opened, and she walked in. Vanessa's perfume hit the air before her words did. She looked polished, expensive, and determined. She wasn't alone either. She had that "I'm doing better than you" glow people wear when they want revenge wrapped in elegance. I froze. I didn't even know what to say. My body remembered the old version of her, the one who once held my hand during thunderstorms and promised she'd never let go. But her eyes didn't hold warmth anymore. They held strategy. She walked straight up to me, eyes scanning my clothes, my tired face, my posture. She smiled like a blade. She asked about my job, my life, my little apartment. Then she tilted her head and said something that hit me like a slap. She mentioned she was engaged, not because she wanted me to be happy for her, because she wanted me to feel small. She wanted me to regret not becoming the man she wanted. I didn't know it then, but Vanessa had timed this. She knew my company was thriving. She'd seen my name in a business article, just a small mention, but enough to make her curious. And Vanessa didn't get curious unless she smelled opportunity. She wasn't here to congratulate me. She was here to check if I had become worth coming back to, or worth crushing. That's when the elevator chimed, and Madeline Cross, my CEO, stepped out. Madeline wasn't just a leader. She was the kind of woman people described in whispers. Late 30s, brilliant, composed, and respected across the industry. She wore confidence the way other people wore perfume, subtle but unforgettable. I had spoken to her maybe 3 times in my entire career, and every time it felt like standing too close to lightning. She looked at me, then at Vanessa. In one glance, she read the tension like it was printed in bold letters across the lobby. And then something unbelievable happened. Madeline walked directly to me, placed her hand lightly on my arm, and smiled. Warm, effortless, intimate. It was the kind of smile that made the whole world think she belonged there beside me. She leaned in just enough, and her voice came soft and calm like she was saving me without making it obvious. She said she needed me upstairs, and then, like it was the most natural thing in the world, she introduced herself to Vanessa as my girlfriend. My brain stopped working. My mouth went dry. Vanessa's face twitched. Not anger, not shock. Something worse. Jealousy. I should have corrected Madeline immediately. I should have told the truth. But the truth would have embarrassed me in front of my ex-wife and exposed how weak I still felt. And I wasn't ready for that. So I did the most pathetic thing a man can do when he's cornered by his own past. I let the lie live. Madeline guided me toward the private elevator like she was escorting me out of a burning building. The moment the doors closed, I finally breathed. My heart was pounding so loud I thought she could hear it. Madeline didn't look amused. She looked serious, almost protective. She told me she saw what was happening, and she didn't like bullies. She said she'd seen too many good people crumble under the weight of someone else's ego. And then she said the words that changed the rest of my life. She said she'd help me, but there was a condition. One kiss. At first I thought I misheard. I stared at her, stunned, confused, like my mind couldn't translate it. Madeline Cross, my CEO, was offering to pretend to be my girlfriend to make my ex-wife jealous, but she wanted one kiss in return. Not for pleasure, not for romance, for believability, for power, for a message. I should have refused. 1,000 reasons screamed in my head: my job, my reputation, her position, the risk. But then I remembered Vanessa's eyes, the way she enjoyed twisting the knife. I remembered how she walked away when I was struggling, how she made me feel like love was a transaction, and something inside me, something tired of being humiliated, wanted to stand tall. So I agreed. That day, Madeline didn't just act like my girlfriend. She became a storm. At lunch, she held my hand casually as we walked into a restaurant near the river. At the office, she stood close enough that people assumed we'd been together for months. She didn't overdo it. She didn't act childish. She acted real. And the more real it looked, the more Vanessa's confidence began to crack. Vanessa started showing up more often. She suddenly missed me. She suddenly wanted to talk about memories. She even apologized in a sweet voice that didn't match her cold eyes. And I realized something painful: she didn't miss me. She missed the version of me that looked valuable to someone powerful. Madeline saw it too. But something else happened that I never expected. In the middle of all this acting, I started noticing Madeline in ways I never allowed myself to before. Not her beauty, though she was beautiful, but her loneliness. The way she stared out of windows when she thought no one was watching. The way she stayed late in the office, not because she loved work, but because she didn't seem to have anywhere else to go. The way she flinched slightly when someone mentioned family. One night, after a long meeting, I found her alone in the conference room, staring at her laptop but not typing. Her shoulders looked heavy, like she was carrying invisible weights. That was the first time she let the mask slip. She admitted she wasn't doing this only for me. She told me she'd once been humiliated publicly by someone she trusted. She told me she learned long ago that powerful people don't get sympathy, they get judged. And she said watching Vanessa try to break me made her remember what it felt like to be powerless. It hit me then. Madeline wasn't a cold CEO. She was a survivor who built armor so strong the world assumed she didn't bleed. The kiss happened a week later. Vanessa had invited me to a charity event, claiming it was just networking. I knew it was a trap. I knew she wanted to parade her new engagement in front of me and measure my reaction like it was entertainment. Madeline insisted we go together. She arrived in a deep navy dress that made the entire room turn. She didn't look like she was attending an event. She looked like she owned the building. Vanessa's smile vanished when she saw us. The night was filled with subtle cruelty. Vanessa introduced me as if I was still beneath her. She made jokes about my old job, my simple life, my cute little dreams. And then she did the final strike. She leaned in close, in front of everyone, and whispered that she could still have me if she wanted. That's when Madeline stepped forward. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't insult Vanessa. She simply wrapped her arm around my waist, looked at Vanessa like she was nothing more than a bad memory, and then she turned to me. Her eyes met mine, and in them I saw something I wasn't ready for. pain mixed with courage. And then she kissed me. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't wild. It was slow, steady, and real enough to silence the room. Real enough to make Vanessa's face go pale. Real enough to make my heart forget how to beat properly. When Madeline pulled away, she didn't smile like she won. She looked at me like she hoped she hadn't just made a mistake. But it wasn't a mistake. Because in that moment, something inside me healed. Not because Vanessa was jealous, not because people stared, but because for the first time in a long time, I felt chosen. Not for money, not for status, for me. Vanessa left the event early. Her engagement didn't last long after that, because the man she was engaged to finally realized she wasn't in love, she was competing. And when she tried to crawl back into my life weeks later with tears and regret, I finally saw her clearly. She wasn't my future, she was my lesson. Madeline and I didn't become a fairy tale overnight. We had boundaries to face, rumors to handle, and a workplace that didn't forgive easily. But Madeline did something no one had ever done for me before. She didn't just stand beside me when it was convenient. She stood beside me when it was complicated, and I did something I never thought I could do again. I trusted. Months later, I resigned from the company. Not because Madeline asked me to, but because I didn't want her integrity questioned. I started my own consulting work, and Madeline helped me quietly from the background, not as a CEO, but as a woman who believed in me. And when I finally invited her to my small apartment, the one Vanessa once mocked, Madeline smiled and said it felt more like home than any mansion she'd ever been in. Because home isn't marble floors. Home is peace. Near the end of that year, on a snowy evening in Chicago, I stood on a bridge by the river, the city lights glowing like soft stars. Madeline stood beside me, her hand in mine, her breath visible in the cold. I didn't have a ring yet. I didn't have a grand speech. I just had truth. I told her she didn't have to pretend anymore. And she whispered back that she hadn't been pretending for a long time. If this story touched your heart even a little, please like the video, subscribe, and share it, because your support helps keep stories like this alive for people who feel broken and need hope. And before the ending, I have one special request. Comment, "I choose kindness" if you believe love should never be used as a weapon. Because sometimes, the person who saves you isn't the one who promised forever. Sometimes it's the one who showed up when you were drowning and asked for nothing but one kiss, just to remind the world and you that you were still worth choosing.